Artificial intelligence is one of the most powerful tools we have available to us, but for some reason, our industry is falling behind by either not using it or not using it effectively. Something I'm very passionate about. I've been following artificial intelligence trends for the last year, and I was recently brought on to another podcast, the Salon Owner Collective, to talk about 3 key tips and things that our salon industry can take advantage of with artificial intelligence today. I think you're going to love this episode, so we want to share it here on our own podcast so you could benefit from everything that was discussed on that show. Check it out right now. Artificial intelligence, 3 ways that it can help your salon. Welcome to the Salon Scoop, a podcast by Salon S.O.S. I'm your host, Scott Moon, the founder of Salon S.O.S, and I'm obsessed with helping salon professionals live their best life. In this show, we shop talk all things salon to bring you real-life stories, debates, entertainment, and inspiration to help you find happiness and success in this beautiful industry. If you work in the salon industry in any capacity, this podcast is open to you. So set down your scissors or rinse out that toner and let's get into it.
Technology can be scary for us to wrap our heads around, and I get it. We want to cut hair, help our clients with beautiful skin, and it's easy for us to think, well, I'm just not a computer guy. But whether we like it or not, technology isn't going anywhere. I know we already use it a little bit with our booking system, our website, and I think we're all pretty good at social media. But what about AI? And I'm not talking about replacing our team with robots, because I don't think I'd be very comfortable with a robot cutting my hair or doing my brows. But what about using AI for marketing? Today, I'd like to introduce you to Scott, and he's from Salon S.O.S. Now, Salon S.O.S is a digital marketing agency specifically for the salon and spa industry. And today on the podcast, Scott shares 3 different ways that we as salon owners don't see ourselves as computer guys, but we can use AI and be a bit more time and tech savvy.
Scott, thank you so much for joining me on the Salon Owners Collective podcast. Very pleased to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
So why don't we start with, who the heck are you, Scott? Where do you live? What do you do? How did you get to be doing it?
Well, clearly I live here in cyber world, as you can see from the background, those that might be watching a video, but otherwise I am home based in Montreal, Canada, but a citizen of the world. And I've been in the industry beauty industry, a little over 25 years now. I was working with the L'Oreal group for 14 of those years. Was general manager for Kerastase for 1 year, general manager for Redken for 4 years. So really grew quite a deep attachment to the salon industry. And so much so that I just had this passion that I wanted to help the industry. I just felt that there was such a collaborative nature. People wanted help. And I did find that the corporate, big corporation side limited me a little bit. And I preferred when I was out touching, salons, touching people at events. I felt that's where the greatest impact was happening. So I decided to leave the corporate world and get into sort of smaller endeavors that were bringing value to the industry. And I started Salon S.O.S, it's a digital marketing agency specifically designed for the hair salon and spa industry. And just it's really representation of my personal mission that I just want to make sure that every single salon business can have online marketing tools that grow their business at extremely affordable prices. Simple and affordable is what we're about. And we're just trying to bring the knowledge so that people feel comfortable with digital and technology and can actually implement it with success in their salon companies.
Well, that's one of the reasons I want to speak to you here on the podcast, because I know as an industry, there is still a little bit of fear around installing technology. Things have changed dramatically. And I know that we often think, look, honestly, I cut hair, I look after skin. Technology is not my thing. I'm not a computer guy. So, and I think sometimes it holds us back. So I really wanted to invite you to come and speak to like technology is changing at such a rapid pace, we have to adopt these things. So how can we make it easy? How can we ensure that we feel comfortable and not fearful of things like online booking, AI? We've got to deal with ChatGPT and other technology now, and we're either going to let it pass us by out of fear, or we can embrace it and go, all right, how are we going to use this inside of our salon? I think as an industry, we're pretty good at social media, but it's the other stuff. And so I wanted to have this conversation with you today and just actually shine a light on it. Doesn't have to be that tricky. Maybe we could do some really great stuff. So thank you for joining us.
It's an absolute pleasure. And you said, I think there's a little bit of fear. I would say there's more than just a little bit of fear around technology in our industry that definitely holds people back. But even to social media, your point, our industry has gotten, quite good at it, but it took a while, right? It was lagging. And when it first came out, people were like, oh, you know what? No, I can't, I don't want to do this. I can't do this. And now we're doing it almost because we feel like we have to, right? And we've learned it and we've gotten into it. But then as soon as Instagram came out with Reels, a year and a half ago, everyone was like, oh no, like I can't do videos. So we're constantly pushing back against these new developments. But the reality is, if we learned from history is that we're going to end up doing it eventually. So you might as well be in the early wave. You don't have to be the first one doing it, but if you want to be better than the average in the industry, then you have to get ahead of it a little bit and understand that these things are a reality. Our world is not going to get less digital. It's not going to become less technology. With artificial intelligence, as you mentioned, it's just going to be more and more. And whether you like it or not, you might as well learn it and figure out how you can use some of it. You don't need to become an expert, but you need to at least understand some of these technologies enough to be able to use them to your benefit, because there's so much that it can actually do to help your business.
Yeah, for sure. So we have to go into AI, Scott. Like, this is the big conversation that's happening right now. It's the one that's there's a small percentage of people that are super excited, but the majority of us are, can I say, shit scared of what it's going to do, how it's going to take over, that people will know that we've been using it. And let's set a few things straight. What are some things that we could, should, would use in our salon when it comes to AI that actually can make our life easier and we don't have to be scared of?
Yeah, I think we should preface it, by a lot of people out there in the industry have been saying, oh, you know what? Robots aren't going to be cutting or coloring hair, anytime soon. They're not going to take my job, so I don't need to worry about this technology. When we talk about AI, artificial intelligence, we're not talking about actual robots, coming in and cutting hair. We're actually talking about a whole set of tools, right? Like technology tools, computer tools, software program tools that can help us do a lot of administrative work that in the past have taken us hours and hours and hours to do, that now can take a matter of seconds. And if you are not open to learning about this, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. I like to tell people, you can think of artificial intelligence and one particular tool in particular that many people I'm sure have heard of, ChatGPT. That's just one, AI tool, but you can think of it as your incredibly smart, like robot friend, right? That's like next to you 24 hours a day, that can answer any single question, that can do any kind of task for you in seconds, and they'll always do it with a smile on their face. So I'd say, let's talk about some of the things that you can be utilizing it for, right? That will help you save time, will help you be more efficient in what you do. First thing that I would suggest, and some people who have been playing around with ChatGPT have been using it to help them with social media. So there's a couple areas. You can firstly use ChatGPT. Everybody should know that it's free. So you can have a free account. You can also have a paid account, but the free account is actually very adequate for what most people would use it for on a regular basis. And you can, first of all, ask it to give you a whole bunch of ideas for what things you should be posting on your social media. right? Tell it what you are, as if you're talking to your super smart robot friend, and say, hey, I own a salon business. This is where I'm located. These are the services that we offer. This is the ideal client that we're trying to attract to us. Give me 20 different ideas of content that I could be posting about on social media that's going to be engaging and interesting for that target audience to want to come and visit my salon.
I love this so much, Scott, because you literally need to speak to, in my mind, it's a guy. I don't know why. But I find myself typing, please, can you? Like I'm literally speaking to a person. I'm very polite. It's very polite to me back. Gives me compliments on anything that I put in there. It's quite a good user experience, I have to say.
Oh yeah, and I do that all the time too. Please, please,
Yeah.
can you do this?
Please, can you do this for me?
It responds back, and sometimes it gives me a response, and I say that wasn't specific enough. Can you go into more detail? And it will respond, I'm sorry, you're right. Here's a more descriptive, da, 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 da. And so you can go back and forth with it, all the time. So that's a starting point. Then you can actually ask it to help you write, actual captions, and you can direct it. You can go back and forth with it, to perfect it. You can ask it to write in a certain, tone of voice that you want so that it sounds like you. You can put examples of your past writing so that it understands your style, because people often say, oh, like a computer's never going to talk like me, and so I don't want to use it. It sounds like a machine is writing this. There's ways that you can actually overcome that. So very, very powerful from that standpoint. There's also some tools, if we stay on social media for a second, where you can actually create your own images. So of course, it's great to be taking pictures of your work, in salon and whatnot, in terms of the results of hair. It takes videos of what you're doing, create reels, all that is important. But if ever there's something specific that you're looking for, you want to, create an image, there are now artificial intelligence tools. A popular one is called DALL-E, DALL-E, and it's on the third version already, where you can sort of give it a prompt, say, please create an image of, and you describe the image that you want, and it will actually just produce the image for you. So that's also a very valuable tool. Maybe not for your images on social media, but maybe you want images to put on your website. Maybe you want images to put on, email newsletters, attached to blog articles that maybe you're writing. So much that you can be doing.
I love that. I had a little play. I haven't played with that one, Scott, but my son came home and they'd done a project at school. And so we had, I forget, Dark Cafe or something. Anyway, we had a great time creating all sorts of images. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. It is amazing what it can do.
Yeah, and we're really just at the cusp of
for sure
of the technology today, really. I mean, if you think of what's going to happen in the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, I don't think we can really even picture what it might look like. But I think what's important is that there's a lot of things that you can be utilizing today in your salon business that's going to help you save time, be more efficient. We've actually put together a whole training. That's a video training, 12 videos, sort of step-by-step tutorials on how to utilize some of these tools, because we just felt it was so important for people to at least learn some of the basics, right? So we've done it in a very straightforward way that helps you learn some of these things, how to, right, get it all set up. We talk about client consultations. I think this is another area where we can be utilizing artificial intelligence to enhance our client consultations. You might say, well, how does that work? Well, I mean, there's various aspects, but there are some tools now, very sophisticated tools that, I mean, the most sophisticated, there's mirrors. They're called smart mirrors. Now, these would be quite costly if you purchase them and put them in your salon, but it can actually analyze just by the mirror visualizes the client. It can analyze their skin, it can analyze their hair, and it can give very, very precise, recommendations in terms of regimen to be using. It can allow customers to view different hair colors on themselves in the moment, in the mirror, sitting in the chair. So that's kind of next level, but it's a little simpler than that. There are apps now that exist that can kind of do the same thing. So you could upload a picture, right, of your customer, and in that app, you can change their hairstyle, you can change their hair color, you can change, makeup, so that they can look at, different looks, different colors, and it can kind of help you bridge that that consultation phase and set the right expectations before you actually start into something. So it's not just them coming in with a picture that they took off of the internet or off Instagram saying, hey, I want my hair to look like this. You can be like, okay, well, let's actually check how that would look on you, right? And if you incorporate these tools into your consultation, you now look like you're offering an elevated customer experience that other salon professionals are not. So you're standing out from the rest. And you're actually, I believe, having an engaged conversation and setting the right expectation so that they don't all of a sudden have the color and be like, oh, that's not what I thought it was going to look like on me. So, which can be certainly a problem.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk about using tools for retention. Scott, years ago when I had my salon, I remember deciding that it was my responsibility. I remember the moment of kind of where I realized as the business owner, it was actually my responsibility to take control of, one, attracting clients to the business. It was not the responsibility of my team. And two, keeping those clients. And while my team, it was their responsibility to serve, it's a shared responsibility for retention. But I remember one of my top performers broke up with her boyfriend, and she was sad and depressed. And for about 3 weeks, her performance plummeted. She forgot to rebook the clients. She forgot to sell them. She was just too sad and depressed. And I thought, this just won't do. I can't, like, we had strong training regimens. We had strong systems and processes on how we did things. We had a lot of high performers, but I thought, this is risk for me. They break up with their boyfriend, and my business suffers. How can I take responsibility myself as a business owner to hold up the business despite the variables that humans bring? And I would love to have your take on how do we use technology, marketing specifically, to ensure that as a business owner, we have a little bit of control over those things, particularly around retention, I guess, What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you talked about sort of the volatility of the human behavior, and that's kind of why we need to have systems in place, and technology allows us to have systems that perform the exact same way every single time. There's consistency to help overcome some of the inconsistencies that we have based on human behavior, human emotions, all the life circumstances. So think of one thing in particular here, as you mentioned, client retention. One area that salon owners are often fearful of is that when a stylist, or esthetician leaves the salon, that they're going to lose all of those clients, right, that go and follow that stylist to their new location. So that's also something about client retention. How do we go through that? One clear-cut way, right, to be increasing customer retention is through loyalty programs, right, points programs. These are very, very common in all industries out there. However, they've been less utilized in the salon industry for some reason. I've always questioned, like, why are there not more loyalty programs in salons? It makes total sense. And, some salons have had loyalty programs in the past where they have those little paper punch cards, right? For example, right? Every time you come in and you get a manicure, you get a punch. And after, 5 or 10, you get a free one, or same thing for a haircut or whatever the case may be. Those are loyalty programs, but they're so basic and elementary. It's, 20, 30 years ago. It's just a paper card that we're expecting the customer to keep in their purse and to not lose. And at the same time, the salon has no visibility. Like, how many of those cards are actually out there? How many punches, are we liable for? And when you incorporate technology, right, and you actually have a digital loyalty program, it brings so many pieces of added value. The first is super simple. It stays on the phone, right, of the customer all the time, and people are way more likely to know where their phone is than where that little paper coupon thing is. So that's one. Two, it's modern, right? It makes you seem like you are a modern, salon with the times. bringing technology, to the forefront, and consumers like that. Consumers are on their phones all the time. They're used to using it for everything in their lives. So why not incorporate that? It makes you have a professional look and feel. Third, you now have the data, right? So customers are actually going to create their account, right? So they're going to put in their name, they're going to put in their, their phone number, their email address, maybe their birth date, and you now have their personalized information. You can be tracking how many points everybody has been earning. You can give them, the opportunities to redeem those points with like multiple ways, and it's all tracked, right? So there's no mistakes. There's no things that go lost and have customer complaints. So these are all some of the, instant benefits of using a technology system. Now, there's two types of technology that we do see in the salon world today. One, some salons are utilizing their POS book, platform, software system that may have a loyalty points system in the background of it. And they're like, oh yeah, we use that for our points. The problem with systems like that in the salon world and in other businesses is that nobody becomes aware of the points. Nobody's actually talking about it. It's not as though when the customer comes to the front desk, we're barely lucky if whoever's checking out the client is able to talk about rebooking their next appointment and is able to talk about retail purchases. They're not talking about, oh, by the way, are you part of our loyalty program? And, oh, I see that you have, you just earned, 50 points today. That conversation is just not happening. And the only time that it comes up is when the customer has enough points. There's a pop-up on the screen that happens, and then the front desk person, whoever's checking out, is forced to say, oh, wait a second, I see here you have enough points to get $10 off today. So the customer has not been aware of anything the whole process, but now the salon is just giving away something, for free. What you need to do if you're making it digital is it needs to be in some form of app-based program, right? Where it's on the phone of the customers and they have visibility, and they have to open the app every time that they're in the business, scan something in order to get the points added, and they see it, they have the visibility, because
so they're active, they're actually actively involved in the process.
Exactly. Yeah. They're engaged with it, right? The purpose of loyalty programs, points programs out there across all industries, the purpose is to change the behavior of the customer. But if the customer is not aware of something, then they're not going to change their behavior. So the only way to make them aware is, give them a reason where they have to open it up, right, and see it every time that they're in your salon. And now you can send, special personalized offers and promotions, to them. So many amazing ways that you can really engage with them between visits, right? To stay relevant and connected with them. You could send automatic messages through the system, for their birthdays, after a visit, asking for reviews. If they haven't been back to the salon in a certain amount of time, there can be a trigger that sends out a message saying, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. We'd love to have you back in our salon, and you can put in digital coupons. There's so many amazing opportunities when you make it digital. So I'd say that's really where technology can really, really help with retention. And when customers are earning points at the salon, even when a stylist leaves, the customer still has their points with the salon. It doesn't follow the stylist to their new location. So it's one extra reason to keep coming back to the salon, because they have all these points that they have accumulated that they want to be utilizing.
Tell you what, that works a treat. I had a large team, and we ran a points program, and it would have been one of the most important strategies that we installed when you have team change. And so 100%, I think it's a needs must for sure. All right, Scott, you are a business owner. What is a quote or a mantra that keeps you feet on the ground, super focused, driving forward in business?
Well, the quote, I'm going to tie it back to marketing, because a quote that I state all the time, and it's advice for salon owners, is that your marketing plan is only as good as your retention plan. And really what that means, most salon owners, business, professionals are focused on, I need new clients. I need new clients. And so your marketing is always triggering to get new clients. But if you don't have a strong retention plan in place, and all those new clients that come in the door, there's like a leak at the bottom of the bag and they'll fall out, and it's a never-ending cycle. So your marketing plan is only as good as your retention plan. You have to start with a strong retention plan so that everybody new that comes in actually sticks around and stays with you for a while.
Yeah. I love that. That is so good. I have a picture in my mind of little people falling through a hole like dead bodies. Okay, what is a book, a podcast, or something that you've engaged in recently that you think all salon owners need to get their hands on?
So I'm going to go back with a classic. I mean, I engage with this repeatedly over time, and it's not specific to, you know, salons. It's for mindset, right? So people that are into personal development and mindset, and it's a real classic. The book is 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. It's one of the classics. I go back to it regularly and often because I feel like if we can really understand each of those 7 habits and apply them in our lives, that it's like a perfect roadmap to leading a very fulfilled life, both personally, professionally. It all ends up kind of blending together because I'd say your mindset is really the most important thing. So that's one that I connect with, but really there's so many great, you know, personal development books, podcasts out there. I would say, you know, connect with something that you feel good about, that connects with you. You listen to it and you're like, yeah, that speaks to me, or, you know, a book that speaks to you, and just adopt those practices over and over again in your daily life to make them naturally part of who you are.
Okay, so the message there actually is, regardless of what it is, 7 habits or something else, actually there's a bit of repetition and consistency around going back to that, like not read something once and done and then you move on to the next thing. I love that. I think that's so important. I think growth is based on consistency of the small habits, actually. So that was great. That was a really good sub message there. I mean, I appreciate that.
I used to read a book, and then I would read a new book, and then someone else would recommend that you read a new book, and then they all have different ideas. But what you start to recognize is that there's many overlapping, you know, principles. And eventually I was like, okay, you know what, I've consumed enough, you know, information here and I believe in it all, but now I want to really focus on the implementation of it into my life. And so I kind of now go back to the ones that are really, really stuck with me. And repetition, we are what we repeat. Yeah.
Agree. I love that. All right, Scott, I know people are going to want to stalk you. You also have a podcast. Where can we find your podcast? What's your dub and your socials?
Yeah, so our podcast can be found on all, you know, listening stations. It's called The Salon Scoop. And it's all about, you know, digital marketing, best practices, tips, advice. So that can be found Spotify, you know, Apple Music, everywhere. Our website is www.salon.sos.ca. And you can find all sorts of information about us there. We have that training that I mentioned, the artificial intelligence training there. It's like a self-guided training, extremely affordable to learn about it. We'd have information about our loyalty app. We do have a software loyalty app that sort of speaks to what I was talking about. We have all sorts of other services, but also resources in terms of you know, YouTube videos, blog articles, etc. And if you want to hit us up on our socials, whether it's, you know, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, it's at salon.s.o.s.
Amazing. All right. Well, I appreciate your time. This has been super great. And now you know where to find Scott. So thank you for your time, Scott.
Thanks so much for having me. This was fantastic. Thank you so much for listening to the Salon Scoop podcast. This show is produced by Salon S.O.S, a digital marketing agency by industry professionals for industry professionals. If you want simple and affordable solutions for any of your salon marketing needs, such as websites, client loyalty, Google search rankings, social media, or more, come visit us at salonsos.ca or on Instagram at salon.s.o.s. If you want to hear more episodes like this and help us continue to bring the industry great content, it would mean so much to us if you would support us in one of the following ways. Either share this episode with one other industry professional, and rate the show on Spotify or write us a quick review on Apple Music. We want to hear your feedback. If you have follow-up questions or ideas for future episodes, please reach out. DM us on Instagram at salonus.s.o.s or hit us up on our website again at salonsos.ca. Again, thanks so much for listening. Now go get your hustle on, keep smiling, and we'll catch you on our next episode.